This man is a steal for the Toronto Raptors. Because at the 45th overall selection, a pick we didn't know we had. A lot of Raptors fans are speculating we traded for to draft Bronny James. Masai Ujiri drafts Jamal Shead, another stocky, blocky, aggressive point guard that just fits the mold of an archetype of a guy that the Raptors select undrafted, late in the first round. They trade for an undervalued prospect that just ends up blossoming for this Toronto Raptors group. And I'm opening this video with, I am biased and I am disappointed. Anyone that's already made comments saying, oh, he's not a steal, what's this exaggeration? Anyone that isn't biased or stocky guards and claims to be a Toronto Raptors fan should be shunned. Not actually, shunned for this video. Because Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, for as bad as he ended his Toronto Raptors career, Fred VanVleet is a remarkable story. He's an undrafted free agent, coming into the Toronto Raptors, developing in our system. Kyle Lowry became the GOAT on this team as an undersized guard. Point guards that come in, bring the hustle, bring the energy, bring the leadership, should be exciting, Toronto Raptors fans. And the more I read about Jamal Shead, the more I look at this man as a steal for this Toronto Raptors group. So we're going to break down the impact he could have on this Raptors team, who he is as a prospect, and what fit he could have in this organization, obviously being a 45th overall selection, because all signs indicate he was not drafted as a two-way guy to be buried on the bench or anything like that. Now, with recent moves, the rotations might be tough to crack, but he was selected with a full guaranteed roster position in mind. So who is Jamal Shead? Who is he as a prospect? Well, he played for Houston and is a guy that the first thing that should be said about him is an elite defender. He is a monster out there at the point guard position. The hustle, the energy, the lateral quickness, the strength for an undersized guard. This man is a beast, and he ended up winning the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year in college. So Shead was named Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the first Houston player to ever win it. And basically his entire competition, including 7'4" Zach Edey, all big men, all these sort of guys with more physical tools and all that type of stuff. This man, Jamal Shead, is an absolute dog, is an absolute menace out there on the defensive end for anyone that's trying to face up, trying to go out. I watched some defensive highlights of this guy, and the fact that off the bench right now, we're going to have Davion Mitchell and Jamal Shead at our guard spots. That is good. People look at Patrick Beverley. People, I'm not saying he's Drew Holiday by any means, rookie coming in at the 45th overall selection, but the impact of having high quality defensive guards at that point guard position, right? We saw it in the NBA Finals with Drew Holiday. We've seen it in the past with Kyle Lowry, right? With the impact that has on your roster, that is huge to be coming off the bench now for the Toronto Raptors. And basically, Jamal Shead was drafted with the positional fit in mind to not be, two-way stash. Basically, news came out that he had options, a lot of options in terms of a two-way position, these non-guaranteed contracts in different spots, turned them all down, and he wanted that guaranteed position that the Toronto Raptors are willing to offer. And obviously, second round picks, they can kind of push their way up and down draft boards, and he got that spot with the Raptors and will probably be a part of the rotation. So what are his stats? What's he looking like as a basketball player? Well, Jamal Shead, 22 years old, so a little bit older for a prospect, but again, as we've been saying in all these videos, Masai, Bobby, they are interested in bringing in dudes that fit the Scottie Barnes timeline rather than your usual sort of tanky teams, 18-year-olds that you're all trying to draft. But point guard, 6'1", 6'2", different, he's listed at different heights, different places. The mocks have had him in the mid-30s, so he did fall a little bit in terms of the draft selection, so that's a little bit of a steal there. Guy falling probably 10 selections in terms of where he was projected to go. But Jamal Shead, this man has an impact. And basically looking at his stats in terms of what he's able to provide, he has a 38-inch vert, which is very, very solid. Not the craziest big wingspan in terms of potential, and 13 points per game, which isn't crazy high, but he is a great facilitator, 6 assists per night, 2.2 steals a game. As I mentioned, this dude is a hound defensively, 31% from the field. The encouraging part of that sort of jump shooting aspect is he shot 78% from behind the free throw stripe. So again, that's encouraging about his future development as a shooter there. But a guy that works out, a guy that is able to turn himself into the type of defender he did in college, just encourages me as a player that can come in, is going to work the right way and bring some type of leadership to the Toronto Raptors locker room. And I know this might be corny, this might be stupid, but there's a video of him, his coach kicked over a trash can, and then he's the one that comes in and just picks up the trash, kind of cleans it up, does the right things out there. I know it might sound a bit corny, but we want high character guys in this Toronto Raptors locker room. We want people that are going to build a culture, that are going to work hard, that are going to do the right things out there. Jamal Sheed just fits the mold in terms of what everyone is saying. He wants that guaranteed contract. He wants to be out there being, be able to get minutes on these teams. And I think in the Toronto Raptors, a team that has had tremendous success developing point guards, developing these types of guys, I am excited to see what he's able to do with this team. Now, what are the scouting reports saying about his game? So he's a decent shooter off the dribble, so he can create. He's a solid playmaker. He's a great defender and can get a ton of steals and is a great athlete. I think the solid, in terms of the highlights that I watch, is an understatement in terms of the pros regarding his game. The cons, he needs to improve his shooting, certainly. He's prone to heisting up some questionable shots. Again, that's where the field goal percentage is coming from. And being the lead guard on your team, that's what happens in college. He struggles to guard quicker players. I saw this man moving pretty quick laterally with his size and strength, so that's how it goes. And yes, he's a little bit undersized for the point guard position. But, bringing in dudes that at the point guard spot, because the Raptors obviously had some issues, the backup point guard position last season, especially, and it was even more exaggerated when Immanuel Quickley was out for a stretch of games to close out last year. But IQ, right, now is being backed up by Davion Mitchell as well as Jamal here. Like, that is going to be a backcourt that is going to be hounding defensively. It's going to have an impact there. And once again, Masai Ujiri has selected a guard that's probably going to have an impact right away. Again, these 22-year-old guards, I'm not saying he's going to be elite, going to be a natural. Usually these guys, as we saw with Fred VanVleet, kind of multi-year college prospect, took kind of a season or so to really find his way into the rotation, then led that bench mob, led that sort of group in terms of what went on there. But I think he's a player that can get some actual run on this Raptors group, especially where we're probably not competing next season. Is definitely going to get some opportunities to get out there on the basketball court. But him, Davion Mitchell, as that sort of backup point guard position, that need is filled with two guys that have high potential upside. And if that jump shot comes around, and that's the big thing, which I'm confident in just in terms of the character, in terms of what people are talking about in regards to his development, I am confident that that jump shot will come around, and then you pair that alongside just the defensive capabilities that he's shown out there at the college level. That's going to be a prospect. That is going to be a piece that at the 45th overall selection, again, need I remind people, we got this draft pick, as well as basically like a first for next year, the Portland Trailblazers second. We got this draft pick for Jalen McDaniels. We made that happen. That is a steal. This is a prospect that I'm touting as a steal. Jakob Poeltl, I didn't name him as a steal because, again, I think he was in that draft range. It was a guy that I think is a reasonable upside for that spot. But the 45th overall selection, to bring in a leader, to bring a Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, a guy that fits the timeline of your team, that is a steal in my book, in my eyes. And again, I'm biased with the Kyle Lowry, with the Fred VanVleet stuff. I know people trash on Fred VanVleet, so people are going to be mad about that. But I am excited about watching him play as a basketball player. I just love watching people play elite defense. It's something that excites me. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this draft selection. You guys best make it as far as subscribe to the channel if you're a part of, let's break it back to this scene. You're a part of the 51% that haven't subscribed just yet. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are cranking out like a ton of videos a day. So we want to keep you up to date with everything that's going on. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.